Just another minute. We'll just wait. 3:30 is kind of a different time here. So, hey,
hi, Alicia.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I got to join Becky today in her class for a number talk, and it was amazing.
Oh my gosh, today, I wish I could say they're always that great, but today's was one of the best. Like they are usually really good, but today they were blowing me away with just the strategies that they were using. And Parker continues to just like everything he says, I'm just like, okay, you should write the book.
Yeah, he totally should write the book. Thanks for letting me be in. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, he did great. And we had a great turnout this afternoon. Like I'm slowly getting more and more students on board. So that was good too. Got to see a good one.
Good. All right. So it is 3:30. Oh, hi, Becca.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Hello.
All right, so 3:30, let's get started. So this is week 2, session 1, planning for new learning for the next 2 weeks at this point. So again, Gretchen and I thank you so much for being here. We are going to do our absolute best to try to support you in this. Thank you to all of you who reached out and provided a bit of feedback for things you might need. There was a lot of good stuff that we could take weeks to cover. So thank you for kind of giving us some ideas. As I said before, if you were in with us, buckle up. We've got a lot to share. We're going to cram a lot into a short amount of time. Just a reminder, this will be recorded. It will be posted. And you can always reach out to Gretchen or myself if you have any questions. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's get started, Gretchen.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay, so before we get started, obviously we would like to do our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we are gathered is part of the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. Please take a moment to consider the land that you are joining us from and acknowledge that. Okay, so today's session outline, we're going to talk a little bit more about what might your day look like. I know some of the feedback that we were hearing, and also just from teachers who we have connected with, they're really kind of wondering like what makes sense to their day, what might it look like. We're going to tackle that. We're also going to talk about useful tools to support your learning. We really want to try to encourage people to kind of stick with what they know. Don't try to learn new things kind of in this environment. There's already so much that is new. So we're going to try to talk about Seesaw and the use of Google Slides to help support student learning. And then hopefully at the end, we will have some time for sharing and some questions.
Sounds good.
So just a quick reminder, these are kind of the options that kids have. That option 1, learning on demand and live teacher support. Option 2 being just learning on demand. What we know is consistent with the 2 models is that learning will not exceed 180 minutes for kindergarten. And that this way that we're pushing out learning can look different. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. I also kind of wanted to quickly add here that your job of providing opportunities for students to learn during the day is kind of your expectation. Parents are going to give and take what they can. They may not be able to get their child on for every single meet. They might be tired. So I know a lot of the conversation has been around student engagement and how, towards the end of the day, it starts to dwindle off. I know even in my own house, and my children are older, they're tired by the end of the day, but I know that their teachers are providing this opportunity. So I think that giving ourselves permission that parents are doing what they can, students are doing what they can, and you are doing what you can. And we're all kind of in this together, which I know seems kind of like cliche, but it's the truth. We're all working, and there's so many factors working against everything right now. So I want everyone to kind of just keep that in the back of your mind. Parents will do what they can, and they will get kids on as much as they can, and kids will let them know if they've had enough or not. Okay.
Thank you. I think it's really important. You know, everybody's doing the best that they can with what they have right now, right? So, gentle on themselves, right?
For sure. Some people, students, they respond better to it than others. I know my kids are having a time with it. I know some kids that love it and may never want to go back to face-to-face. So it works well for teachers. It works well for some students and not so well for others. Okay, so we tried to come up with a few schedules for what your day should look like. We know that our learning should not exceed 180 minutes during the day. And we understand that different schools are approaching it kind of in different ways. So you can see here, and I apologize, the one on the left is really small. I do have a document that I will share at the end that has copies of these. So the one on the left is a kind of scheduled based on, say, a school day. So like a 9 o'clock start with 2 nutrition breaks, 2 recesses in there. And this schedule does not include a prep time, which we know a lot of you will have prep. That prep time is part of your 180 minutes. So if you have someone who comes in and covers 40 minutes of prep, that is part of your 180 minutes. Even though it is not you specifically teaching that, it is a prep provider, that still goes towards that instructional time in the day. So if you have that 40-minute time, which might translate with the 60% to maybe 25 minutes, you take that out of the time that you are with your students. So in total, it equals 180 minutes. Okay, Gretchen, anything to kind of throw in there?
I don't think so. I think that the way that it was put to us was that time, the 180 minutes is student time, right? Like that's what we need to keep remembering, that 180 is for the students. So yeah, if they're with somebody for music during that time or more of like science experiments or something, that does go toward that 180 minutes. So yeah. And I think, you know, like we've included some small group activities in these examples here. And I know that, you know, some people might not be there yet, right? Like might not be comfortable. Some people might have do small groups in one way that's really easy for them, where they might say, okay, everybody you go play, I'm going to meet with a group in the same Google Meet. Okay, there's lots of ways to do it, and we're going to go through some of that toward the end to help organize it and to make it easy. But you know, like I know that there are lots of different levels of technical savvy right now, and you know, if that idea of breaking up into small groups and having lots of different links, you know, if that is something that's causing you great anxiety, or if you tried it and it just has not worked, you know, be gentle on yourself and, you know, try it one way and then try it another way. And then maybe just do full group the next day if it's just too much for you and your students, I would say.
Yeah, this is like a learning curve for everyone. So, you know, this schedule in the middle, and actually I'm wondering if Tressa or Molly would be willing to kind of share. This is something that is all whole group and they do that all day. I don't know if Tressa, if you wanted to say anything.
I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yay. By any means, that's been one of our most frustrating things. My microphone tends to disappear every so often. But our day is, what you see here is a whole group. So we have this dream that eventually we're going to get to pulling our readers over during a small time and working with them for guided reading, but we haven't got there yet. So we go on, and this day was a little bit this was today's, and it was a little mixed up. So normally we actually do our literacy component in the morning, but we wanted to make Play-Doh today. And we wanted to use it all day. So we changed things around, but every day has a literacy component, a math component, and then a STEM component. There's phys ed, whether it's just a simple activity like a body break. Sometimes it's more in depth, depending on what we're doing that day. And then our health is our amazing prep person, Jess Enns. I'm actually very blessed with two amazing prep people, Caitlin Moreau and Jess Enns, and they do amazing, very creative things. And then today we tried something new. We did outdoor exploration. So we went outside ourselves and on our cell phones and walked around our yards and played with our dogs. We had one girl stay on with us. Other kids sent in pictures. So what we do is the kids work on these activities with us. And then if they can't get on, they have a matching activity in Seesaw to do. But we don't expect them to do the Seesaw activity if they've done it with us online. And then they have
Before you go out, like, do you say that every time? Say, like, if you complete this activity with us, you don't need to do it on Seesaw. Like, do you remind them of that every time, just so that you don't get double?
Very much so, because on the first couple of times we were getting hit twice. So we have very eager parents. So they were doing double the amount of work, and we were having to, it was crazy. So we've actually really spoken to them about it, and they really understand, and they're starting to get like, the activities that we have in Seesaw that are asynchro, they're simpler, they're easier, they're kid independent. So they go on to those and they do those on their own. So after, for example, after our block at 10:20 today, we said, okay, now technically we are not going to see you again till 11:40. In that time, we expect you to have lunch. If you'd like to keep working on your language, there's an asynchro activity online for you to do, working on matching the letters together. So some of the kids went on and did it. Some of the kids didn't. It was kind of parent decision, but we did stress, do not do the Play-Doh activities. You've already done them. Okay. And then we have those that are doing them from home because they're not online with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gives the flexibility of, if the students want to stay on for longer with you and increase that. I know screen time is a conversation that's happening all over. So, you know, if those students want to be on with you live, then they can be on live on the screen. And if they do want to just go ahead with a Seesaw activity, then they have the option to do that as well. So providing that opportunity, again, it puts kind of the onus on the family to decide what works best for their child. And again, you are putting out that 180 minutes. So even if your students aren't engaging, you have still put out those opportunities for that time.
I want to ask Becca. So we have Becca Gardner with us. She's part of an educator team from the virtual school. And so I wanted to ask Becca about your teaching partner. How do you split up your time? Are you together in the Google Meet all the time, or are there times when you go and maybe look at the Seesaw stuff, or how do you divide your time up there?
We do it pretty organically, actually. We find that it works best. We were planning on separating and doing each our own small groups and things like that. But we wanted in the first week for all of the kids to meet both of us. And then we just found that it really worked well that way. So we break up in our small groups and both educators are in. And we just base it on who wants to lead what activities. We come up with different ideas. And if I want to lead that one, I lead it. Sometimes, because we lead each activity 3 times for each group, sometimes she does one, I do 2. Like, we just split it up based on how we're feeling that day about what we're teaching and who wants to run that. Or if you want to read a story 3 times, sometimes that gets a bit tiresome. So we split that up sometimes too. And then when it comes to things like Seesaw, it's more just like our big exploration times. We're both in those times as well. So sometimes one of us is engaged in doing a teacher-led activity, or just chatting with our kids or playing a game with our kids, and somebody else is marking and checking on Seesaw and watching what's rolling in as it's happening, because a lot of times our kids are, while they're in small group, they're with us, and when they're not in small group, they're working on Seesaw, or some of them do their Seesaw during exploration time again, it's another one of those things where families are working on things as they can throughout the day. So one of us is generally checking that throughout the day, checking the messages, keeping things up to date, sending some things back if we want a little more feedback from our families or our children. And then the other person is actively engaged all the time. So we just kind of tag on and off all the time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that too about how you tackle the Seesaw stuff, because that's a message that we've been getting a lot, is that there's so much that's coming in all day long that that people are finding it hard to keep up with it all too, right? But I think if you tackle it as a team like that throughout the day, that seems to be helping a bit, eh?
We find that that works really, really well for us because somebody's always still available to answer the questions and meet the needs of the children. And as we get that stuff done throughout the day, it gives us the time that we need when we have our async time to do our prep and be ready for the next days and the coming weeks and have things assigned, and even just researching what we want, where we want to go, and do all of that stuff, because otherwise you're busy trying to do that after hours, and then you're having to meet, if you're a team, you're having to meet later on outside of your time when you really do want to be spending that time with your families and helping your own children that might have schoolwork that need to be done.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you much for sharing.
Yeah, while you were talking there, Becca, it really made me think. I have been trying, again, I think I said last time, to approach this remote learning with that classroom perspective. What would we be doing in the classroom? So when students are sending us information through Seesaw, or when they are handing things in, when we're responding back to them, or when we're providing them something they need, that's just like feedback. So it's the same as you wandering around in the classroom to your tabletops or to, you know, a center, and this student needs something, or you're giving them that piece of feedback. That's kind of what's happening online. It just looks a little bit different because you're sitting in front of a computer, maybe typing back that feedback, but that is still a role that you would have in the classroom. And I think giving yourself permission for, you know, the ECE or the teacher to kind of move through the feedback or being live with the kids is going to help to alleviate some of that time you're spending after hours, because we don't want you doing that. You're right. Your family is important, and so is your own mental health. So we need to take some time for ourselves as well during this time. So thank you so much, Becca, for sharing that.
I think it's important to do it in real time for the students too, because it's fresh in their minds. So when they submit something to you, if you give them a voice comment right when they're doing it, or as close as you can to the time that they've done it, then they're thinking about what you've said about their answer. So they're able to process it a little bit better if you can do it at all possible, as close to the time that they've done the assignment as possible.
Thank goodness for that team.
Yeah.
We're so lucky, the two of you. That is something that honestly, I wish every classroom did. So utilize that, and, you know, have those conversations amongst the educator team and figure out what that might look like to help kind of alleviate some of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready
So, yeah, with that being said, we wanted to talk a little bit about using Seesaw to support our learning. Okay, so we know Seesaw is out there. We know it is a platform that is provided, and I've heard a lot of people kind of reach out and say, like, what are the best apps to use, or what can we use to share with our kids, or, you know, what kind of things should we do? And my advice is going to be stick with what you know, or use the tools that we have available to us. We are lucky that we have Seesaw purchased through our board, and it is going to be a saving grace for a lot of things. For example, showing what you know. We all know, and I said I wasn't going to mention this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Communication of learning is coming up. We are going to have to provide some sort of a report on our students, and how would we gather that information in a classroom? We would use observation, we would use conversations, we would use all of those things that happen in real time. So what does that look like in virtual? Yeah, It's a little bit trickier. It's a little bit of a more slippery slope. So I think keeping in mind that Seesaw has photo, it has drawing, it has video components. Students can show you what they know by using those. For some of us, Seesaw has been a documentation tool, and we've been, doing our own documentation, or it's just been a communication platform for our families. We may need to shift our thinking a little bit of how we can use this as a tool to support student learning. Okay. One thing I am going to suggest, if you want to just jump ahead, Gretchen, there, is getting kids comfortable with using that microphone and sharing their thinking. We all know that they can put something down on paper that it might look like a bunch of scribbles, but when you ask them what they did, they have so much information to give us, and that's where we get our documentation. That's where we get our understanding of their learning. So getting students to share, for example, that little guy on the right, what did you create? Tell me about it. That's going to tell you a lot more than just a still photo. So
even that photo, even that picture on the left, right? Like you could make your question in your assignment to them, say, how do you know that you needed to include that many eyes, right? And those same questions that we ask in the classroom to our little ones when they're telling us about stuff to get more information, we can have those ready. We can even provide parents with a list of those questions to use, and then they can get used to asking those questions as well for the students to record their voices there.
Mm-hmm. And that is going to be something that you can learn. That is a piece of observation, listening. So we're talking about that whole idea of like triangulation of assessment and, all of those conversations and what the students are sharing might have to be what you are going to depend a little bit more on when you're thinking about your communication of learning. So I really encourage everyone to kind of take a look at that mic tool and just kind of see if you can get your kids working towards that, because that's going to be really helpful, especially when it comes to that time.
Mm-hmm. And we'll probably talk more about that.
For sure.
Yes.
Okay, so one other kind of comment, as I said, that I have heard is like, what's going to be the best for a whiteboard? Or if I want to, a lot of teachers are using an easel behind them and they've got something set up that's really awesome at their house and they're kind of writing on it today. Again, we have Seesaw and it can be your own personal whiteboard. So if, for example, you want to, do a number talk, or you want to share students' ideas, or if you want to model what they might do in their activity, you can present your screen and use the whiteboard to demonstrate that. The top picture on the left there is what you would see if you were presenting from an iPad. So this is from your Google Meet. If you click on share screen, okay, or on the bottom, that was from, I was on my MacBook. If you present now, present a tab, open up your Seesaw, and if you go to the add button and post student work, click on drawing, it's going to open up that whiteboard. And if we look at that whiteboard, it has everything you need that you would use on a piece of chart paper. So use that whiteboard to model what you need to, but also it's going to help your students to get comfortable with using those tools within Seesaw. They're going to see what you are using and what you're clicking on, and you can even animate that to kind of help them. Gretchen, do you want to jump to the next page there?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if I am doing a number talk and I'm going to say like, okay, I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to find my highlighter. So I'm going to click on that highlighter and look, I can change the color of my highlighter. And just kind of walking through that, it's going to help the parents. It's going to help the students. And it's also going to be a really easy way for you to just be able to have a whiteboard, and you don't have to worry about a Jamboard or a ClassKick or whiteboard.fi. All of this stuff is embedded in Seesaw and it is here. So again, don't make your learning curve that much more steep. You can kind of stick with what you know, and Seesaw is a perfect example for a whiteboard.
And I remember at the beginning of all of this last year, that was kind of the message, you know, like we have the support for Seesaw with it, and we have the support for Google, the Google Suite. So, you know, don't make it harder than it needs to be, right? For sure, especially right now, you know, like we're spending so much time figuring things out. And there are programs and platforms that I have not ever even used because, you know, for me and the work that I do with classes, it's like I make Seesaw lessons and I can do things on Google Slides. And so that's, you know, what works really, really well for me. Oh yeah, just stick with what's working. Yeah. Are there any questions right now about Seesaw or the whiteboard or anything that that Alicia has discussed here?
I think the biggest challenge is figuring out how to like use your mouse to draw if you don't have an iPad and a stylus, for example. But I've seen some teachers who are pretty fantastic with their mouse writing skills. I'm always impressed. Okay, I don't think anything right now, Gretchen.
Okay, well, we'll move on. Okay, so something that I know has come up sometimes is how do I put a video into my Google Slides? And it's a really easy way to share a YouTube video or a video from your Google Drive without having to, you know, go to YouTube and do all kinds of switching around and everything. So you can just embed it right into your Google Drive. And there's a couple ways to do it. So first you would click on insert and go to video here. And so you can search YouTube right here. So if you're wanting to look for Ojibwe counting songs, you could type in Ojibwe counting songs, and then a whole bunch of videos will come up down here. I prefer to use the URL. So when I was making my slides, I would have gone right into YouTube and done the search and found the video there, and then copy and pasted the link in here. Okay, and so then I would click search. I would click on by URL. Okay, and then it would come up. And so I type it in here, and then the video would come up here. I click on that, and then down here where it says select, I would click on that there, and then the video gets embedded right into your slides right there. And so you don't have to leave. You can go to YouTube if you want to. Sometimes that comes up here, but you can just watch it right from your slides, and it's just so easy that way. Okay, let's see if I could, oh yeah, see, when you click play, you get the choice of, if you click on that, it'll take you right to YouTube if you want to, or you can just watch it right here in your slides. Okay. There we go. Another way to do it is by clicking on, clicking on the Google Drive right here. And so when I did that for this one, I clicked there, and then all my videos come up that I have in my Google Drive. So these are ones that I would have uploaded to my Google Drive. So again, I would click one, so click there, click select, and then it gets embedded right into your slides again. So it's just easy, and it's right there. Okay.
It is
trying to skip it so you don't have to listen to that. Okay, so another way that I use Google Slides is for my read aloud. So there's nothing wrong with holding up your book, you know, and it's not showing up because of my background, holding up your book to read it, unless I guess you have your background blurred or whatever. So, and showing the pictures that way. So yeah, I guess that doesn't work very well. So what I do is I take pictures of the pages that I want, okay? And so you can, what I do is take the pictures with my phone, and you can either save them to your computer or to your Google Drive, okay? And do it that way. And if you're using your laptop to make your Google Slides. If you're using your phone or your iPad to make your Google Slides, you can just add your photos into your Google slide deck right from your device, from your phone or from your iPad. And honestly, usually what I do is I do it that way, and then I edit everything on my laptop. It just seems to be easier for me to take the pictures here, put them right into my Google slide deck from my phone, and then edit on the computer. So here you'll see, so insert image, you can choose upload from computer, search the web. So if you're looking for something that is just like an image from Google, okay, or your Google Drive. So I'm going to exit out of this so I can show you. So step 2, you're going to insert the photos from your Google Drive or computer. So I'm going to, let's see, image, I'm going to do it from my Google Drive. So this is one I took today. So I'll just click on that. So, and here's your choices where you can choose from too. So recent, your drives, or you can share. Okay, I'm going to pick this one. And so I didn't do a very good job taking the picture. So I'm going to turn it this way so that it looks a bit nicer. Can you, I think you can probably insert all of them. I've done that with my iPad, and then just kind of copy and pasted them to the different slide that you want to put them into, okay? So you can double click on the picture, and then these little lines here show up. And that means that you can crop your picture, so you can crop out your background. There was one time I was taking pictures of a book, and I had to hold it down with my foot because I was using my iPad. And so my toes were in the picture. So I definitely had to edit my toes out of the picture. So you can crop that and press enter, and there you go, right? So there's your picture right there. And you can make it bigger. And so this is usually what I do. And then each slide has its own, each page in the book has its own slide. And then as I'm reading it, I just go through the slides, and it's easy. It's a nice way for the kids to be able to see the pictures in the book, and it's pretty easy and stress-free to be able to do that. Okay.
And I think students love to hear their teacher's voice. So I know there's lots of videos kind of online that you can just kind of play through YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a nice way if you do want to read a book that you have at home with you, but you want them to be able to see the pictures more clearly and still hear your voice, you can just present your screen. And then you can just use your own voice to read it as you have the book in front of you, and just, it's like a multitasking to flip the page at the same time that you're reading the page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, if there's any questions about that, I don't know the full answer about only insert one photo at a time. I'm guessing you can, like if you're uploading it from your drive, or like from your downloads on your computer, you can just select a bunch, press enter, and they'll all go in, and then you can put them into the slides that you want to do that, so you don't have to go through that step all the time. Just give it a try. That's what I say.
I think when you add multiple pictures, they'll just all go onto the same slide. Yeah. So then you'll just have to drag them onto the next slides.
Yeah.
Good question.
Alrighty.
Okay, so we have had lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of questions around the idea of small groups, and that for some teachers, the concern is, and it is an extremely valid concern, I appreciate this one all the way through, that they don't know how they're going to keep their links organized if they do decide to do small groups. So what I thought we would do is just share a couple options of how I have, seen teachers doing it, or ways that might help to keep the families organized so it is less stressful for the families. So I, again, have combined Seesaw and Google Slides, 2 platforms that I feel very comfortable with in order to keep this kind of organized. So number 1, that first picture there, I created kind of like a choice board, but again with the Bitmoji, because I know that's kind of a thing right now. It's a big kind of fad. So I have created that. You can see in the top left-hand corner that there's a picture of the Google Meet link. That would where I would insert the link for the main Meet. So anytime I want my students to come together in a whole group, that's where I would put that link. And then each door that I included there will have a link to the small group. So I chose to use color. There's a red group, a yellow group, a blue group, a green group. I put their names on the door. And when the parents, or when the students, we can teach the students to do it. When they click on that door, it will take them directly to their link at whatever time that they need to be there. That is one way that we can kind of keep it organized. Okay, another more simple way, the one on the right, I also created in Google Slides. Same thing. I did the colored boxes that when you click on them, there will be a link, and then the whole group link is also there. So that is something that will always stay up. You can easily go and edit that. You can change students around in the grouping if you need to. And that way, parents will be able to easily kind of navigate through that. All they have to do is click a button, the student will be in it. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through quickly how to add those links to your Google slide. So once you've kind of created what you want your slide to look like, you are going to need to copy the link for the Google Meet that you want. I always schedule my meets in Google Calendar. And so when I click on the Meet, on the left-hand side there of the screen, you can see it says join with Google Meet, and there's that little copy icon. If you press that, that's going to copy the link to the clipboard. When you go back into your Google Slides, I chose the blue square because that's what I want to link. So I select that. I go to the top and go to Insert, down to Link. Okay. And then it will, on the next slide there, it will give you something that looks like this. You want to paste that link. So again, you can right click and paste, or if you're on a MacBook, for example, you Command V to get that link in, and then you just press apply. So what happens once you have that, the student, when they click on it, it has to be in present mode, which we'll talk about after. When they click on that, that will take them directly. Okay. One thing that teachers are finding very helpful is to pin this to the top, so it does not get lost in all of the Seesaw activities that are coming out and kids are posting and this and that. You can pin this so that it stays at the top. So clicking on those 3 dots on the post, and there is an option to pin to the top. That will stay there. So every time parents log on to Seesaw, that is there, and they will just be able to, again, okay, you have a meeting at 10:10, we need to click the yellow door. So they're going to open up that post, click on that yellow door, and they're going to easily get into that meet. Okay.
Okay. One thing, so we talked through this a bit because we were trying to figure out how we wanted to share that that slide, I guess. And so if you share through Google Slides, you're able to edit it later. So if you wanted to change some of those names on there, you would always be able to go and change it in your Google slide, and it'll change it for everybody. Okay, so when you want to share it though, you want to make sure that it is in present mode, so that when the students click on it, it doesn't go to a slide deck that looks like this, right? We want it to look nice, and so that they can't accidentally change anything or whatever. So we're going to do that through Google Slides. So we're going to click share right here. Okay, and then when we do that, this comes up here. So share with people in groups. So what we want to do is you want to click change down here. Okay, and we want to change it so that anyone with the link can go to it. Okay, and I know that some people might already know about all this, and that's wonderful, but for a lot of people, this Google slide stuff is brand new. So yeah, we want to be able to, anyone with the link can view that. Okay, and then you're going to click copy link. Okay, and so that will get copied to your clipboard. So what happens now, and when I learned this last year, I thought this was amazing and I couldn't even believe it. Okay, so see this, I copied and pasted these twice. It's the same exact link. So right here where it says edit, right here where it says edit, we want to change that. Okay, so this is the one I'm going to change it so that I can't see what color, so that it says present. Okay, and we're just going to leave that like that. So when we share it with the families, we can copy it and paste it, and when they open it, it'll go automatically to, let's see, present mode. Okay, so they don't have to, there's no worry about them editing it or making a copy or anything. It's just right there, right in the present mode for them, just how you want it to look, all nice and pretty, right? So that's such a easy thing. And when I learned that last year, I was like, why did nobody teach me this before? So look for that one right here where it says edit, change it to present, and there you go.
Yes, and that's key, because if parents do go and it shows up in just this kind of format where you see, the slides down the side, if it's not in present mode and they go to click on it, then it won't take them right there. We don't want that to cause some frustration. So just by changing that one little edit word to present, then it will automatically change it so that it presents as soon as they click. Okay. In the chat, I am going to put a link up. And this link is for a document. It's not pretty. It's not a fancy schmancy document. It's just a plain old Google document that has some of the screenshots from today's session. It also has a link to those choice boards for the breakouts or for the small groups that if that's something that you want to try. It just has some stuff there to help you. It also has a couple links at the bottom for some ideas and has some math resources that you might want to take a look at. So hopefully that will be helpful to some people.
So yeah.
Right.
Anything.
So we're gonna open it up for questions.
Questions? Yeah, sharing. Tell us what's working for you. What worked today? What was a really good success that you had today? I'd love to hear that too. Or you can put in the chat, but we love to hear your voices as well.
And we know it's 4:15 and that you've been in front of a screen all day.
Yeah.
We totally understand that, but we just want to make sure if you do have any questions that we have a chance to kind of answer them here for you.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Becca. Becca, what was a success that you had today in your classroom? Is there anything that you want to share or something from yesterday that was just awesome? Did we lose her?
We had a really cool thing happen. So when we send out our asynchronous, right now we're working on decomposing the number 4. And so we've been talking a lot about it in different ways. And we assigned a Seesaw task today that has this sort of math mountain, and they have to use the shapes and show us different ways that they can make the number 4 using all those numbers within the number 4. And we played shake and spill, and we had sent home the asynchronous task for them to make 2-sided shake and spill pieces, and almost all of our class made them.
Oh, nice.
It was so good, and we had so much fun, because then we were able to tell them, now you can go and take your shake and spill cups, and when you go and do your seesaw task, you can shake and spill, and you can fill out your seesaw shapes by what happened when you shook and spilled.
That's amazing.
That was kind of fun.
So what are some ways that they made those double-sided counters? Like, did they use paper, or like what were some of the ideas?
Yeah, a lot of them used paper, or we tell them all the time, go to your recycling, like get out the cardboard. Like we all have the backs of cereal boxes made into bingo boards and now shaker pieces and that kind of stuff. We always tell them to dig around and find those sort of that beautiful junk that you can turn into new things.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Container lids, yogurt containers, we tell them save things.
Yeah.
Don't throw that out.
Like mini borders.
Yeah.
Right?
That's awesome.
Good. One thing that I thought was really neat too is, and I think we mentioned this before, but just seeing teachers pull out like loose parts, or their kids gathering loose parts around their house is going to be really, really valuable. So just any little like trinkets or stuff that they can use. Because, you know, if you're in your exploration time or if you're in your math time, those loose parts are going to act kind of as manipulatives, for example. And if we want them to like, okay, so show me a collection of 6, or let's make a pattern, tell me what your pattern is with your loose parts. So just even having something kind of set beside the students to allow them to always have access to them. I think that's something that is working for a lot of teachers as well.
Mhm. Okay.
Anything else out there? You guys are quiet. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that was a lot of information that we just kind of threw out there. Please do not forget that the videos will be recorded and posted on our blog as well as on our LKDSB YouTube channel. The show notes or that doc is there. If that will be helpful to you, please do not hesitate to reach out to Gretchen or myself with any questions, anything you want us to help through. Becca, thank you so much for joining us. We love
No
hearing.
problem. Anytime.
Great. And we will be back next Tuesday, same time. I believe the same link. So next week, we will have a different focus, maybe more on some of the sharing stuff of some ideas. So stay tuned.
Okay, we'll see you next week.